Good evening. I'm Lisa Roberts, and I'm honored to serve as the president of the Westchester Jewish Council. This has been a difficult week in our country, a week where the scourge of systemic, institutionalized racism and inequality has been on painful display. For those of us in the Jewish community, it is yet another reminder and opportunity to focus on our work with our interfaith partners and to stand together with our brothers and sisters in the Black community to bring about much needed change. So many of our honorees tonight exemplify that sense of responsibility for one another. Just an hour ago, I heard Tom Friedman say, "You can make a point or you can make a difference." These 22 individuals have indeed made a difference. Tonight, it is my pleasure to welcome our elected officials, the clergy, staff, and lay leaders from so many of our council member organizations, and of course, the honorees we are here to recognize tonight, along with their friends and families. We are joined this evening by nearly 600 people and countless more who are watching the live stream on the Council's Facebook page and through the Metni NY USY Facebook page. This is an extraordinary testament to the selfless work of tonight's honorees. This distinguished group of dedicated volunteers truly represents the best of us. Their selfless service enriches and strengthens their own communities and in turn our broader community. Each of these extraordinary individuals has set an example, inspiring those around them. And although we are not able to honor them in person tonight, we could not miss our opportunity to recognize and celebrate them virtually. One program note, the program for this evening's event, which contains a number of congratulatory messages submitted for our honorees, is available on our website, wjcouncil.org, and will be emailed to all attendees after tonight's program. The Westchester Jewish Council is proud to serve as the central communicating, convening, and connecting organization for Westchester Jewry. We are proud of our 44 years of service to the community, working closely with our 135 plus member organizations, including synagogues and agencies, which in turn serve the Jewish community of Westchester. We have been particularly well-positioned and active during the current COVID-19 crisis, working to provide critical information and resources to our member organizations and the broader Jewish community through our communications, briefings, webinars, and through our signature roundtables. Our mission is simple. The Westchester Jewish Council serves to connect Jews to Jews, Jews to Israel, Jews to our elected officials, and importantly, Jews to the broader community. I am forever grateful to our professional staff, our hardworking board, all of our partnering organizations, and all of our member organizations so important in all of our work, and so many of which are represented here tonight through their honorees. And of course, for the steadfast financial support of UJA Federation of New York. Tonight would not be possible without the hard work of our Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Awards Committee, co-chaired by Betsy Bernstein and Karen Firestone, and including Ron Arsham, Michelle Gawanter, Sue Pearson, Keith Reich, Julie Rockowitz, Jane Silverman, Steve Silverman, and Sheila Spicehandler. Once again, Kol HaKavod to all of tonight's honorees. May their efforts continue to serve and inspire. It is now my privilege to introduce and present a Silver Anniversary Special Recognition Award to Donald Fleischhacker. Donald had the honor of receiving the very first DSA in recognition of his work with UJA Federation in 1996, the inaugural year of this ceremony. And his involvement in so many aspects of Westchester Jewish community have never wavered over all these years. We honor him tonight for that longevity and for his ongoing presence and dedication to our community and to the Westchester Jewish Council. Don has been a practicing attorney in New York City since 1952, and until the outbreak of the pandemic, was still going into his office every week. Despite a strenuous practice, work, and travel schedule, he has always made Jewish causes of all types and his Jewish family life a priority. In the Jewish community at large, Donald has had a wide-reaching, distinguished volunteer career in Westchester, having served as chair of the Westchester Division of the UJA Federation campaign, served on its overseas board, its Human Resources Development Committee, and the Westchester Cabinet. He's an honorary member of the highest board, having served 20 years on its executive committee and speakers bureau, and helped to create its scholarship program. Donald is currently a board member of the JCC of Mid-Westchester and an honorary board member of the Bethel Synagogue Center, where he continues to be active by helping in the conduct of its religious services on holidays, Shabbat, and its daily minyan. The Westchester Jewish Council is also fortunate to count Donald among our honorary directors, his having contributed greatly during his tenure on our board. Donald's passion, energy, and longevity are something we can all aspire to. Since his beloved wife Dorothy's passing, Donald continues to live in Scarsdale, keeping himself very busy, working, volunteering, and enjoying his wonderful family. He takes enormous pride in the fact that all 4 of his children are highly involved in their own Jewish communities and causes, carrying on the Fleischaker legacy. In fact, his son Aaron will be joining the Westchester Jewish Council Board next week. And of course, the enormous joy that his 15 grandchildren and 11 great-grandchildren bring him. They inspire him and keep him young. In fact, his determination to stay current, Don even got a new computer so that he could be with us for tonight's presentation. The Westchester Jewish Council is so honored to have the opportunity to recognize Donald Fleischaker on this silver anniversary, a man who actively continues to share his leadership and wisdom, a man who has been and continues to be a role model for us all. And now, as president of the Westchester Jewish Council, I'm pleased to turn it over to Donald.
Thank you, Lissa. I want to thank you for that beautiful description of my background. I couldn't have written it better myself, so thank you very much. But more importantly, I want to thank you for being the president of our council during these horrible times. You and the council have been doing such a wonderful job. And I want to take this opportunity through you to thank Elliot Forsheimer, your board, and the committee for selecting me for this honor this evening. I thank you all very much. I have been blessed with a long and wonderful life. Yes, because of that, I have had the opportunity to witness and participate in many unusual, strange, and happy situations. Among them, I can recall Pearl Harbor, World War II, atomic bombs, the Holocaust, the polio epidemic, the creation of our great state of Israel, vegetables being sold in the street from a horse-drawn cart to our autonomous cars of today, TV, computers, cell phones, internet, the loss of my beloved wife, Dorothy, as well as the blessing to be able to see a large extended family grow, one of whom has just been elected the national president of Hadassah. What more can one ask for? Each of whom I am so proud. All of this leads me up to the word Zoom. I want each of you to imagine how difficult and how much effort goes into planning and executing a Julian Bernstein Memorial Night each year. And after doing so, with a fixed date of March 17th, told they cannot go ahead. They had a choice. Our committee could decide, cancel it or postpone it. Most organizations canceled their events, but our committee didn't want to disappoint us. So our committee went to work and created tonight. Hats off to that great committee, and thank you to each of you. I must make reference at this point to the memory of the late Julian Bernstein, the namesake for these anniversary evenings. He was a wonderful young man, taken from us at too early an age. He is greatly missed. It happens that he and Betsy, his wife, were students of mine a long time ago. Speaking of Zoom, my rabbi, David Shuck at the Bethel Synagogue in New Rochelle, has on occasion ended an event by saying, and I quote, "I want to give you something to think about, and we'll discuss your thinking at a later time. So I will give you a thought. I just don't want you to spend too much time on it. I want you to rather listen to my comments as I go on. My question for you to think about is, Zoom, is it a noun or a verb?" When I planned my remarks months ago, I intended to open by greeting you with the expression, fellow workers. I was told then that if I opened with that greeting, I could be another candidate for president. Of course, my retort was, president of which organization? Yes, my friend, we are each one of the workers for any one or more of the members of our wonderful Westchester Jewish Council. Imagine if you could look around and see how many and who we are. Each of us have assumed the responsibility to serve our communities. I don't think any one of us would readily answer the question, why? We cannot answer that question, yet we do, and because of us, others have followed and continue to do so. You honor me tonight for having been similarly honored 25 years ago for my activities on behalf of my community, the Jewish people, and our great state of Israel. Up until that time in 1996, they said that over the 25-year period, I had done so much and they were honoring me. But I did not accept the fact that on that date, my time to serve was complete and they were giving me, quotes, the golden watch. I decided that, thank goodness, I could go on, and I've been very fortunate to be able to continue serving and contributing to these causes for another 25 years. There was a prior period, I'll let you in on a secret, even before those two as well. Numbers, 25 years, 50 years or more, they all have little meaning, except for what we create and accomplish during these years. Time has passed. Some of our institutions and fellow workers, unfortunately, are no longer here. But I must say that our council, because of your working, has more than survived. Starting almost 45 years ago, believe it or not, I was there when the idea was born, and its membership has multiplied. Its participants continue to serve, and in some cases even protect our communities. Our current participation with the virus epidemic and the demonstration being perfect examples. My fellow workers, when I was honored by my synagogue not too many years ago, the theme that I picked for that event, which may have sounded like a personal thought to me at that time, was not personal at all. The thought was, the days are growing shorter, the tasks remain great, and if we don't act upon them now, then when? Personal? No. Each day we are called upon to serve in one way or another. Our tasks continue to be great, and we must continue to serve. When I was originally spoken to about this honor, I was told by the committee that any remarks that I might make had to be limited to 3 minutes. I thought to myself, I can't even say Donald J. Fleischacker in 3 minutes, but I did plan a 3-minute talk. However, since this is really the second time for me to have to prepare, I decided that I was entitled to, and I will take the privilege to use 6 minutes, so forgive me. And now I will conclude by addressing my fellow honorees and all of the workers with us tonight. My fellow workers, you honor me tonight for my doings in the past, and I sincerely appreciate that. But I have a favor for you. I ask that you continue to honor me by not only thinking of my past, but by your continuing to serve into the future with me, a future in which I hope to continue and share with you with confidence that from that past, we can learn to surmount any of the obstacles of the future. I've heard it said, to grow old is a blessing, but not too difficult to achieve. But to live well is a challenge. I thank the good Lord, and I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Congratulations, and thanks for those truly inspiring remarks. It's my pleasure now to kick off the part of this evening that so many of you have been waiting for so long, the presentation of this year's Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award winners. My name is Betsy Bernstein, and I'm co-chair of this evening's program, along with Karen Firestone and our entire committee, who will be sharing the honors of presenting tonight's awards. My late husband, Julian, was a Distinguished Service Award recipient himself in its second year of the award's existence. Julian went on to become a board member and then an officer of the Westchester Jewish Council. And I have to tell you that Julian's favorite event of the council's calendar year was this very evening. Since the awards were created in 1996, we are proud to have recognized the outstanding commitment of over 450 volunteers representing the 140 plus member organizations of the Westchester Jewish Council. It's important to note that each of our award winners is a volunteer. And it's been said that volunteers are unpaid because their efforts are priceless. And we've learned from each of our volunteers that they receive so much from the work that they do. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has recognized the importance of volunteerism when she said, whatever community organization, whether it's a women's organization or fighting for racial justice, you will get satisfaction out of doing something to give back to the community that you never get in any other way. Through the years, we've had honorees who are just beginning their volunteer careers and some who've had a lifelong impact, some who work on a hyper-local basis and some who have had an impact across the globe. But many of our honorees are unsung heroes. In fact, through the years, we've had to persuade some people to accept this award when we called them. They weren't looking for recognition. But they were convinced when we told them that by accepting an award, their actions might inspire others to follow in their footsteps and find their own way to share their time and talents and bring more meaning into their community and their own lives. When we typically present these awards in person, we hear the thunderous, enthusiastic applause and cheers that come with the introduction of each honoree. I encourage you, you can do it at home if you really want to. We love hearing it, and maybe if you're loud enough, we can hear it. But although we won't be able to really hear it through Zoom tonight, feel free to drop any of tonight's honorees a congratulatory note through us here at the Council or through the organization with which they're involved. May the honorees we present to you tonight be as much of an inspiration to you as they have been to us. Each of this evening's Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award recipients will be receiving an original Magen David Star of David sculpture from the artist Gary Rosenthal. We believe this design is a perfect fit with our award winners. And now, with no further ado, I'd like to kick off this evening's awards by introducing our first honoree, Herman Dinkin, from the Jewish Community Center of Harrison. Now, I know him as Herm. It gives me great pride to introduce our first honoree, Herm Dinkin. The Dinkin family and my own are members of the Jewish Community Center of Harrison. And it's not always that I'm able to speak to somebody who has as many stars as Herm does. A veteran who served in both Normandy and the Battle of the Bulge, Herm returned home to the US at the end of World War II with a Bronze Star for his bravery. After the war, Herm became a star again, an actor with a long-standing career in television, commercials, and voiceovers. Some of you may have seen him in his youth in The Guiding Light and in TV commercials for Bumblebee Tuna, Bounty Paper Towels, and Reese's Pieces. That's just some of his many credits. But tonight, we're honoring Herm for his starring role at the Jewish Community Center of Harrison, director of the JCCH production, Biali Chai, reader in the Rabbi's Yom Kippur thematic readings, and his most challenging role of all, elocution coach to the JCCH's bar and bat mitzvah students. For decades, Herm has been the final stop in their preparation journey. Herm and the kids he meets are almost always perfect strangers. But within minutes, Herm makes these kids feel comfortable enough to take his advice seriously. He coaches them on their use of words, phrasing, punctuation. And with Herm's coaching, each bar or bat mitzvah speech is better delivered and very well received on their big day. Herm, for your dedication to those at the JCCH who have been inspired by your guidance and your calming presence, I am delighted to give you another star to add to your collection, the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award for 2020. Yay, Herm. And now I want to introduce Rochelle Rosenberg from the Hebrew Home at Riverdale. 60,000 minutes. For those of you who don't have a calculator out, that translates to 1,000 hours. Think about what you can do in 60,000 minutes. If you're Rochelle Rosenberg, you volunteer at the Hebrew Home of Riverdale. Now, when I called to tell Rochelle that she was one of our honorees this year, she said, I don't know whether I deserve it, and I told her that we on the committee begged to differ. 4 years ago, Rochelle and her husband downsized homes, moving from suburban New Jersey to Riverdale, New York. They were looking for the right community, one where they'd fit in and one that would support their interests. Often when you relocate and the kids are no longer at home, it can take a bit of time to find your place and make connections. Not Rochelle. Vibrant, energetic, this former librarian who had applied her skills both professionally and on a volunteer basis joined the Hebrew Home volunteer team late in 2015 and has been unstoppable since. Rochelle's been a driving force organizing the home's extensive resident library, leading a volunteer in cataloging and labeling all of the books. We're told that her knowledge about all kinds of literature is impressive. Rochelle has said that you learn something from everything, and she is so clearly willing to share that knowledge because Rochelle is also a one-woman bookmobile. She visits with residents who can't make it to the library, bringing the newest titles for people to read in their own rooms, or reading to those who can no longer see well enough to read. She's proud of the long-term relations she's developed with friendly patients in the home, and especially on the memory floor. By being such an active volunteer, Rochelle believes that she's paying it forward, but we believe that we should be recognizing her right now. So Rochelle, for your caring and your sharing, 60,000 minutes already and counting at the Hebrew Home of Riverdale, we'd like to present you with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. And now, Karen will continue.
Good evening, everybody. Deborah, our next honoree is Deborah Bleiweiss. She's a longtime board member of the First Hebrew Congregation. She's the head of the Bikor Holim Committee, which she has expanded beyond the traditional visits to those in the hospital and homebound. She and her small group of volunteers also provide transportation to doctors' offices and make sure that members with special needs get to the county-wide Shabbats and Hanukkah parties. Her role as the head of the recently reconstituted programming team is her newest challenge. When Shabbat Across America was right around the corner, she was working hard to make sure that everyone had a place to go. Mindy Steinholtz, president of First Hebrew, says that Deborah is a calm, quiet presence. She sees a need and she fills it and is always reliable and dependable. Since she retired a few years ago from her position as a geriatric social worker, Deborah has more time on her hands. She recently studied Haftorah trope, and just in the nick of time, it seems, she deftly stepped in to chant on Yom Kippur at the last minute. She also enjoys yoga, cooking, baking, reading, and lunching with friends. And while chatting with her, we discovered that we both have sons who live in Olney, Maryland. Such a small world. And so for all the leadership and volunteer work that she has done and will, I am sure, continue to do for First Hebrew Congregation, we are pleased to award Deborah the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. Now, let me tell you about Michael Sefrenick. He has been an active member of the Pleasantville Community Synagogue for many years, serving on the board of directors as secretary and president, and he now holds my favorite title, past president. One of Michael's true gifts is his ability to support and encourage the B'nai Mitzvah students who are often nervous and less than willing to put forward their best efforts, including the son of the current president. He is able to get the students to buy into the process by using humor and encouragement. He brings his musical talents to the synagogue as part of the High Holiday Choir. But it is his animated renditions of certain songs in the service that make the children present sit up and listen and feel that enthusiasm and that warmth of the service. As many of his fellow award recipients have told us, Michael says he doesn't deserve the accolades. He just shows up. He does it because it is the right thing to do. Whether it is checking that everything is set up for Kiddush after Shabbat services because he says he needs his coffee too, or building the sukkah, or the even more important job of taking down the sukkah, Michael is there because it is what you do. The mitzvah is the reward. And when he and fellow congregants work together to provide transportation to one of the members who is now in a nursing home, they do it because that's just what you do. And so for all the work that he has just done and will continue to do as a member of the Pleasantville Community Synagogue, we are pleased to award Michael the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. And now Ron.
Hello there. I'm pleased to bring up Alan Most, not bring up actually, but whatever. Alan Most from the Hebrew Congregation of Somers. Every synagogue either has or needs an Alan Most. You know, the person who quietly and without fanfare takes on vital roles within the synagogue without ever seeking recognition or a leadership position. Even after 22 years of membership in the HCS community, Alan has served on the board only one time and not on the executive board or its equivalent. He actually bragged about that. Anyway, that, however, does not mean that Alan is not passionate about his community and the Reconstructionist movement. When he moved to the boonies, his words, not mine, he joined a small community in Somers that leaned toward traditional conservative Judaism. However, the community was diverse and needed something different, and Alan felt a new direction was needed. He learned about Reconstructionism, and when the need for a new rabbi occurred, he helped advocate for and later hire a rabbi who knew the community but was still a student at the RRC. A few years later, Rabbi Schwab was ordained and remained as the rabbi at HCS for many years. After he retired, Alan was similarly involved in the finding and working closely with the new rabbi, Shoshana Lace. Over his 23 years of involvement at the HCS community, Alan has taught in the Hebrew school, led the youth group for many years, worked on fundraising, and chaired the ritual committee. Today, he still chairs the ritual committee and works closely with the rabbi in developing more meaningful and spiritual weekly services. It's hard to put into words the importance placed on what Alan has done for the HCS community since he became a member nearly a quarter century ago. He has meant so much to them that they decided to put action instead of words by nominating him for a Bernstein Award tonight. HCS is proud of you, as are we, and we are pleased to honor you with the 2020 Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award this evening. Mazel tov. Now we welcome Faith Berland from the Tzahal Shalom of Northern Westchester. Faith got hooked on Israel and Israelis in her late teens when she spent a semester abroad in Israel studying there. Although a lot of time passed between then and becoming a board director of Tzahal Shalom of Northern Westchester in 2019, the Israel connection burned hot inside of her until she found an outlet for her passion. Faith and her family moved to Northern Westchester in 2012, but did not know about the Tzahal Shalom program until she attended a parlor meeting in 2015. after which she volunteered to host an Israeli soldier in her home for dinner. That inspired her to meet another Israeli soldier at his home that same year during their trip to Israel to celebrate their daughter's bat mitzvah. By the way, that's a Berlin family tradition to celebrate b'nai mitzvot in Israel. When she returned home, she volunteered to be a program director at Sahal. And now, after her 3-year stint as program director is over, she volunteered to be on the board of directors. For those of you who are unaware with what Sahal Shalom of Northern Westchester does, it's an organization whose mission is to bring Israel and Israelis closer to the Northern Westchester community by sponsoring several Israeli soldiers who have completed active duty, and then hosting them before a 7 and 10-day period, every time at the same time each year. Sahal Shalom reaches out to the community for volunteer families to host these soldiers in their home and parent them, so to speak, by schlepping them from shuls or other organizations so that they can meet the people in the community. To organize one of these programs, let alone 3 of them, is an impressive task, but one that Faith has handled with intelligence and kindness. Now that she is on the board, she has brought her passion and intelligence to the continuation of this mission and the work and working and making the process simpler and more efficient. For all she has accomplished with Sahal Shalom of Northern Westchester and the community it serves, we are proud to award Faith Berland a 2020 Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award tonight. Mazel tov. And now we have Louise Albin. Louise Albin from the Westchester Jewish Community Services. Louise Albin doesn't know how to slow down, nor should she. After a distinguished 35-year career with the WJCS, starting in 1973, she quote unquote retired only to come back on a volunteer basis to start a new program to teach some English and test-taking skills to social workers for whom English is a second language. Every social worker in New York State needs to be licensed in order to practice, and WCJS discovered that many of their social workers and staff needed to learn test-taking skills enough English to be able to pass this rigorous licensing exam. They asked Louise to come back and run this program, despite the fact that she had never done anything like this before. And would have to learn a lot about tutoring in order to make it a successful program. Needless to say, the board of WJCS understood the situation, but believed Louise could handle this with grace and expertise that she had displayed over the 35 years as supervisor of the Learning Center. Louise admitted to me that her one-on-one training skills needed to be honed a little bit since her work at WJCS was more administrative in running the center. However, she took on this challenge, learned new things every day, and eventually watched the program grow and succeed on a yearly basis. It's not every day that a person will voluntarily take on new challenges at a time in their lives when hobbies, family, travel, and other interests begin to take center stage. Louise, however, saw a need that had to be filled, and WJCS knew what they had in Louise when they asked her to stay on. Her co-workers described her in glowing terms and probably did not want her to see her go after so many years. There's no doubt in anyone's mind that Louise Albin deserves to receive the 2020 Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award this evening, and we are all in agreement. Thank you and congratulations. I don't know who's next.
Our next honoree is Bob Carpel from Temple Shari Tefillah. Bob and Carol Carpel joined Temple Shari Tefillah in 2008 after attending one Shabbat service where, in Bob's words, they were welcomed like old friends into an extraordinary Jewish community. Like an old friend, Bob became involved in the day-to-day life of the temple, truly becoming an invaluable member of the community and a silent hero. Whether working with the facility staff to maintain the temple's 130-year-old systems and buildings in an environmentally positive way, helping to create and maintain the temple's recycling program, updating all the lighting, fixing the Night of Light donut menorah, or just setting up for a regular event, Bob's commitment to the environment, as well as to Judaism, is the basis for all he does. Personifying the idea that Jewish traditions point to a continuum of life and the world must be in balance, Bob works unflaggingly behind the scenes to find both small and large ways he can take care of the temple and the earth. As the head of the zoning board in East Fishkill for 15 years, Bob worked tirelessly to balance the town's needs for development with land conservation that is so important to maintain our environment. His environmental expertise is also recognized by UJA, where he serves as a Jewish Greening Fellowship lay leader. Through this role, Bob has successfully qualified Temple Sharei Tefillah for energy grants, both from UJA as well as New York State Electric and Gas. For the thoughtful and forward-thinking work he has done, we are pleased to award Bob Carpel the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. Our next award recipient is Amy Gutenplan from UJA Federation of New York and Westchester. Get on the bus. There's no better way to explain Amy Gutenplan's dedication to and involvement in UJA and its vast network of social service agencies. Beginning with her first UJA mission to Cuba 15 years ago, Amy realized that the best way to see UJA's impact is to go and see, on the ground, how people's lives are changed by the funds raised by UJA. After several more domestic missions, Amy decided to join Northern Westchester's Women's Philanthropy, where she served in many roles: co-chair of the Westchester Annual Campaign, advisory chair of the Northern Westchester Women's Philanthropy, chair of leadership development for Westchester Women's Philanthropy, as well as a member of the Westchester Program Services Cabinet, helping to raise and distribute the funds needed for all UJA's incredible work. While Amy was deeply dedicated to fundraising, her passion was always to help prospective donors understand what UJA does, not by trying to explain it, but by physically taking them to see UJA partner projects and programs, getting them on the bus. As chair of Westchester's Community and Volunteer Services, Amy works to organize trips to educate donors firsthand to actually see, touch, and feel, helping them to come to their own conclusions about what interests them, what they might want to support, and what their gifts could do. Additionally, Amy has overseen multiple emergency collections and volunteer efforts through the devastating hurricanes, floods, and natural disasters, encouraging friends, neighbors, and the community to participate along the way. In addition to her work with UJA, Amy is also a dedicated volunteer at Pleasantville Community Synagogue and works with Yonkers Partners in Education, supporting and advising students during the college application and financial aid process. For the hands-on and inspiring work she has done, we are pleased to award Amy Gutenplan the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. Now I'm handing it over to Keith.
Hi. Next is Laura Solomon, Beit Am Shalom Synagogue. Tikkun Olam, which literally means repair of the world, and which some refer to as Jewish social justice, is the belief that Jews have the responsibility not only for themselves, but also for the welfare of the society at large. As the chairperson of Beit Am Shalom's Tikkun Olam committee, Laura epitomizes the concept of Tikkun Olam. One of the 30-plus year veterans of Beit Am told me that although Laura is a relative newcomer to the synagogue, she jumped right in and was a full contributing member of the community from the very beginning. As chair of the Tikkun Olam committee, Laura runs a full-scale effort that extends throughout the entire congregation, focusing on immigration. Under Laura's leadership, the committee invites speakers to discuss the issues and problems relating to immigration and immigrants. They coordinate direct support to immigrant and refugee families. They support community services and raise awareness within the community about immigration issues. Thanks to Laura's leadership and dedication, Beit Am qualified through HIAS and now co-sponsors with Woodlands Community Temple, an Afghan refugee family. Laura has also spearheaded congregation-wide events such as Mitzvah Days, which allow Beit Am to engage with social action organization and projects to benefit immigrant communities. Laura's committee involves people of all ages and demographics. She models the attitude of service, kindness, generosity, intelligence, inclusiveness, and respect that Jewish organizations seek to emulate. She is modest. By the way, she didn't write this, I did. Highly organized and passionate about her work. And perhaps most importantly, her meetings start and end on time. Laura works full-time at IBM, designing leadership development programs for managers and executives. She and her husband moved to White Plains 8 years ago from Ridgefield, Connecticut, where she chaired the Social Action Committee at a prior synagogue. So tonight, on behalf of the Westchester Jewish Council, it gives me great pleasure to present to Laura Solomon the 2020 Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award. Next, Lynn Jacobs, Jewish National Fund. Not surprisingly, all of our honorees this evening believe in and practice Tikkun Olam, and Lynn Jacobs is no exception. Lynn has been an extraordinary volunteer for Jewish National Fund for many years. She's on the JNF Westchester and Southern Connecticut Regional Board and has been instrumental in developing its next generation of leaders and its continued membership growth. In particular, Lynn has for several years hosted a Mother's Circle breakfast at her home, an outreach effort to introduce young families to the work of JNF. The Mother's Circle engages an average of 20 mothers per year and focuses on parenting through a Jewish lens. Lynn's involvement with the Jewish community and the world of Jewish organizations goes beyond her work at JNF. She serves or has served on the boards of UJF Federation of New York, Westchester Jewish Community Services, and the advisory board of JDC, just to name a few. Lynn has been described as the most wonderful person, someone who is empathetic and who could be everyone's best friend. She is always creative, willing to help others, and has a very positive attitude. She is also very orderly and efficient. She just doesn't organize, she Lynnifies. However, she occasionally forgets how old her sons are. For most of her professional career, Lynn has worked in the area of organizational development and learning within the healthcare field. Lynn and her husband, Bill, live in Scarsdale and belong to Temple Israel Center. They have 2 grown sons, Matt and Ben, daughters-in-law, Blair and Lily, and 3 grandchildren. So tonight, on behalf of the Westchester Jewish Council, it gives me great pleasure to present to Lynn Jacobs the 2020 Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award. And next is Julie Rockowitz to present to the next set of honorees.
Marlene Lerner. Growing up in Greenwich Village, Marlene worked every day alongside her whole family at her father's grocery store, I. Ader, on Bleecker Street. Working the keys of the register gave her the foundation and lessons of New York City grid that continues to resonate in the Anshe Shalom community. Marlene and Armand, her husband, devoted to Stephen, Ilani, Jacques, and Katie, and have worked hard to blend in those same values as Marlene learned on Bleecker Street. Marlene has been instrumental to the community at large. As a math and computer science teacher in the Killam school system, Marlene was honored with the School Spirit Award. Her seemingly never-ending energy and long-term dedication has enabled her to tackle new projects. Marlene is considered one of Anshe Shalom's key members and is among one of their most generous volunteers. Whether working on an event, helping her son's Boy Scout troop's mailings, shopping for the shul, whatever, Marlene never hesitated to get involved. For over 2 decades, Marlene worked as general chair for the synagogue's annual testimonial dinner. We all know the paramount effort that is involved, the attention to detail that goes with a project of that magnitude. Marlene took it upon herself to learn a time-saving computer program. The printer was so impressed with her work that he offered her a full-time job. Marlene is definitely the key to the success of the journal. Most recently, Marlene founded and leads the Golden Group for the synagogue's older adult community. Though she says she is very shy, Marlene has reached out and created a most needed, vibrant social community. Marlene herself is golden and key to the warm community. For all of the hard work that you have done for Anshe Shalom, Marlene Lerner, we are proud to award you with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award 2020. I'd like next to introduce you to Maria Kessler. A native of New Rochelle, Maria Kessler has always loved learning. Maria learned about community service at an early age from her parents, who faithfully served their local parish. Her father, Joe, who is here with us tonight, served for 40 years as the choral director and as an educator. His passion for music greatly influenced Maria's activities and involvement within the LaFell community. In college, Maria served as a summer associate at the law offices of Stephen Kessler and discovered that she and Stephen would make a great team. Today, they are the proud parents of Rachel, Michael, and Allison, all of whom have been exceptional students at the LaFell School. Maria has been an exceptional volunteer all her life. At the LaFell School, she served as the all-school parent-teacher organization vice president and later as the PTO co-president with April Klein. These positions demanded endless hours of effort, patience, and attention to detail. Maria's love of the arts inspired her to implement the process for LaFell students to compete at the New York State School Music Association, known as NYSSMA festivals. She volunteered for the student-directed play as one of the costumers for the high school musical and worked on the annual arts festival. She provided motivation for student performers throughout numerous rehearsals with treats, dinners, and encouraging words. This level of dedication and enthusiasm ensured that all of these events went smoothly. Wanting to be more progressive, Maria also implemented a cornerstone event for the LaFell community, the annual Steamposium, a fun, educational, and hands-on fair for children K to 5. Maria, for you, learning and living are synonymous. For the outstanding work that you have done, Maria Kessler, we are proud to award you the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award for 2020. Mark Berger. Mark Berger has been an extraordinary volunteer at Westchester Jewish Center for decades and continues to leave a positive mark. He currently serves as the chair for the WJC Security Committee, as well as on the board as Officer for Arms, which means he serves as a liaison to the Brotherhood, Sisterhood, Religious School, Nursery School, and other organizations that are all part of WJC. I only know of 2 arms, so I'm most impressed with all that you have done, Mark. From his years of working with Booz Allen Hamilton, including work on the federal Head Start program, providing assistance to families and children, Mark learned to navigate the complicated world of writing federal grants. He has put that skill to good use to help his synagogue. Currently, due to Mark's tireless energy and expertise, WJC has received a very generous New York State security grant and is waiting to hear about 2 more grants, including one from the Department of Homeland Security. As if this wasn't enough, Mark serves on the Spirituality Committee. Clearly, Mark, your head, heart, and hands have all been working to make Westchester Jewish Center's members feel safe and secure. Long before Mark worked in the insurance industry for AIG, he was the Hillel director at Williams College. This was excellent training for working as a tireless volunteer for Westchester Jewish Center. Despite all of this challenging work, Mark, his wife Marcy, and their 2 children, Jared, a junior at Williams College, and Alyssa, a junior at Mamaroneck High School, are dedicated members of our community. And if you want to learn more about Mark, you can just ask his mother, Rosella, who I think is here tonight, and she would be happy to share more stories. For the tireless work that you have done for Westchester Jewish Center, we are proud to award you, Mark Berger, with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020.
Esther Milner. When you hear someone described as the Swiss Army knife of a community, there is a wow factor. You immediately have that image in your head. Well, that image fits Esther Milgner to a T. Esther has not only held just about every formal position at Rosh Pinah Havurah of the River Towns, such as treasurer, president, and continuing board member, but she is an excellent gabbai, Torah and Haftarah reader, and sings with beautiful and powerful voice. As Esther says, I'm a doer, not a talker. Esther brings a personal, warm touch to her community. Every week, she is in charge of the Kiddush, customized to try and please everyone, like the black and white cookies that will make a particular member happy. She provides rides to shul, leads Shiva minions, and reaches out to members who might be down and need to hear from a friend. She is a role model to other women in the Havurah. Esther loves encouraging, teaching, and supporting women to read Torah and gain confidence with Jewish rituals. As she says, if I can do it, you can do it. Somehow, Esther finds time for a career. She is an attorney with a busy solo practice. She is married to Mark and has 3 adult daughters, Alana, Carrie, and Erica. For fun, Esther and Mark take a baseball trip every summer in their quest to visit different ballparks around the country. For all the many contributions she has made to the strength and vitality of Rosh Pinah Havurah, we are pleased to award Esther Milgner with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. Tim Bayless is all about music. It is his passion, it is his career, and it is his gift to Sinai Free Synagogue of Mount Vernon. At the synagogue, Tim has taught klezmer and jazz band as part of their Joyful Jewish Experiences, a weekly program open to the greater community. During monthly family Shabbats, Tim accompanies the cantor and children, and when the klezmer or jazz bands participate, he conducts and plays clarinet. About 3 times a month, Tim helps with the adult choir. He does direct instruction, accompaniment, and conducting. He is also the house pianist at the talent show. During monthly musical Shabbats, Tim, as a pianist and music arranger, joins an ensemble of viola, bass, and guitar. When you add all these commitments up, Tim somehow manages to teach music full-time at DeWitt Clinton High School and volunteer at the synagogue several times a week every month of the year, selflessly giving his time and musical skills to enhance services, teach the children, and inspire the community. Tim is so thankful for the support the Sinai Free community has given to his family over the years and wants to give back. As he humbly states, I give what I have, and that's my music. Tim lives in Yonkers with his wife Laurel, also a musician, and his son Eli. For the enjoyment and inspiration he brings to Sinai Free Synagogue through his musical talent, we are pleased to award Tim Bayless with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. Diane Gross. From her first contact with Temple Beth Abraham, Diane Gross became an active member. As her son and daughter moved through the nursery school and then the religious school, Diane immersed herself in study with the rabbi to learn more about Judaism too. Diane stood out as soon as she joined the nursery school board, as she was the only person to ask the big picture financial questions. When she became treasurer of this board, Diane was able to take a complex and confusing tuition system and streamline it. Her vision and goal of long-term sustainability of the program led to a partnership with the JCC. Word gets out quickly about talented volunteers, and Diane was brought onto the Temple board, eventually becoming treasurer. Diane is a team player, a problem solver, and has the rare ability to not only understand and analyze complex data, but to explain it patiently to lay people who may not be so comfortable with numbers. She used these skills to shepherd TBA through the paradigm shift to voluntary contribution system, and was also the voice of reason in guiding TBA's huge renovation project to meet the needs of its congregants and their budget. When her term as treasurer ended, Diane stepped up to the plate again and recently agreed to fill in as secretary of the board. Diane lives in Tarrytown, and in her spare time, she enjoys hiking and gardening. For the many contributions she has made to securing the fiscal health of the synagogue and for giving so generously of her time and talents, we are pleased to award Diane Gross with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020.
I am so honored to present the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award to Nina Lubin from Bethel Synagogue Center in New Rochelle. She is a leader with a rare combination of skills. She can see the big picture and set a vision for the future, while also identifying and executing all the little details that make a project a success, including being a great editor. She galvanizes people to join her in the mission, and she does so with extraordinary empathy. She has co-led Bethel's Keruv inclusion efforts, and a year ago, she became co-chair of Bethel's Vision Action Team, a group of volunteers and staff charged with implementing Bethel's strategic vision for the future. I was honored to work closely with Nina on one of these projects to bring the concept of a gathering space where congregants could study, have a good cup of coffee, schmooze, catch up on emails, and daven from time to time. We called it the Den at Bethel. When we started, it was nothing more than an idea. By November, Nina had it up and running with great fresh coffee, classes, intergenerational conversation, nice art on the walls, comfortable seating, work tables, and positive buzz as congregants popped in and out during the day. Her passion, joy, determination, and focus on the details energized the whole congregation. Nina notes that without the loving support of her husband, Scott, and her son, Matt, she could not possibly be as happy as she is doing what she is doing. For all you do for the Bethel community and beyond, we are so proud to present Nina Lubin with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award for 2020. I am so excited to present the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award to Eli Macaron, United Synagogue of Conservative Judaism, Medney Division. Eli is truly extraordinary. He's a junior at Briarcliff High School and was introduced to USY on Wheels, on USY on Wheels. On Wheels, he volunteered at the annual AIDS Walk in San Francisco and visited the homeless shelter on Skid Row. Following Wheels, Eli was inspired to practice his Jewish faith on a daily basis and made the decision to keep kosher. He uses the daily reminder of the Jewish teachings to help shape his personality and impact others in a positive light. 1 year after Wheels, Eli went to the Czech Republic, Poland, and Israel on USY pilgrimage. On pilgrimage, one of his most meaningful days was participating in a day of service, where Eli was able to help paint the apartments of a community bordering the Gaza Strip and play soccer on the street with children in the neighborhood. Eli's impact on his community continues to grow. He was elected Medney USY president in April and started a talk show for Medney called Jews and Jammies with a friend to keep kids laughing during this unprecedented time of COVID-19. He joined the J18 executive board. He was accepted into the high school's internship with Stand With Us for the coming year. Truly an exceptional young man. Eli is very grateful to his parents, Karen and Rob, and his sister, Ava, for all you do to inspire a new generation of active Jewish young people. We're so excited and proud to present Eli Macaron with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award for 2020. It's now my pleasure to turn this over to Sheila Spice-Handler.
Stacy Rosenkrantz began volunteering at the Greenberg Hebrew Center nearly a quarter of a century ago as a teen aide in the religious school. Even at this young age, Stacy was cognizant of the need to give back to our community and to support students who needed assistance in the classroom. Now a mother, Stacy wanted to expose her daughters Sabrina, 11, and Julia, 7, to the same joy of Judaism she experienced growing up at Greenberg Hebrew Center. She saw the need to bring additional Jewish programming appropriate for young children. Stacy introduced Ruach Tat Shabbat, a monthly Kabbalat Shabbat program geared for children age 0 to 6. This program brought stories, music, fun, and learning to the youngest members. From this initial foray into the children's programming came Stacy's tremendous success with GHC's PJ Library Coordinator. The Greenberg Hebrew Center has been a partner with PJ Library for years. However, it wasn't until Stacy took over that the program blossomed. After successfully applying and receiving 2 grants, Stacy set her sights on providing engaging activities for Jewish families in the river towns. The growth and the participation of young families had been astronomical. GHC's first event in November 2017 attracted a mere 4 families and a total of 17 individuals. But undaunted, Stacy went to work developing new events to attract more families with young children. By June 2018, in the span of less than a year, Stacy's culminating activity, a carnival, held at a local park, attracted 61 families comprised of 196 adults and children. Talk about success. Stacy lives in Irvington with her husband Sharon and 2 daughters. Stacy's warm and engaging personality, along with her ability to create innovative programming, has been invaluable to Greenberg Hebrew Center. For all of her outstanding work at Greenberg Hebrew Center and beyond, we are pleased to award Stacy Rosenkrantz with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. Karen Feldman, who nominated Linda Portnoy Goldberg, describes her as an exceptionally brilliant, energetic, warm, humorous, giving, and caring person cherished by all who know her. Wow. Linda is a graduate of Wellesley College and a native of New Bedford, Massachusetts. She was active in Young Judea growing up, serving as New England Region President and representing them on the year-long Institute for Youth Leaders in Israel. Linda had a long and productive business career. During this time, she was always involved in Jewish causes and activities. Linda was former president of the Jewish Community Center in Harrison, where she was blessed to work closely with Julian Bernstein when he chaired the Board of Trustees. And she was a founding member of Sulam Yaakov, a conservative synagogue in Larchmont, which emphasizes spirituality, music, and Jewish education and study. After having been a lifelong student of Judaism, and with her 10-year involvement at Sulam Yaakov, in 2016, she realized her dream of becoming a non-congregational, independent rabbi. Linda was ordained at the Jewish Spiritual Leaders Institute and soon became a member of the Westchester Board of Rabbis. As such, she works with Jewish and interfaith couples and families to craft meaningful, positive Jewish experiences. To date, there have been more than 60 weddings and 35 other events where Linda works with care and acceptance to celebrate lives and bring people nearer to their own unique Judaism. At Sulam Yaakov, Linda is a weekly Torah reader, serves as rabbi to the congregation when Rabbi Borodowski is not available, and beautifully leads services. Linda has been married for 54 years to Michael. Their son Andrew, daughter-in-law Colleen, and grandchildren Amelia and Charlie live in Los Angeles. Andrew is the co-creator of the Netflix series Big Mouth. For all of her outstanding work at Congregation Sulam Yaakov and other contributions to the Jewish community, we are pleased to award Rabbi Linda Portnoy Goldberg the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020. On Saturday, January 25th, 2020, I attended an extraordinary event. The Temple Shalom of Greenwich Gala, honoring Rabbi Mitchell Hurwitz on his 25th silver anniversary at the Performing Arts Center at Purchase College. There were over 400 attendees. After cocktails and hors d'oeuvres, one entered a dimly lit silver and black shimmering wonderland for the continuation of the black tie event festivities. Hillary Rosenthal was the gala co-chair. Hillary began her involvement on a sneak. Sorry. Hillary began her involvement in the not-for-profit world in 2001. Hillary enjoyed her role, which allowed her to showcase her innate ability to help others and to give back to her community. Hillary then left to raise her daughter, Jordan. That is, until her daughter entered the Selma Mizell Nursery School at Temple Shalom in Greenwich, Connecticut. The bug was back. She could not help but get involved. Hillary saw a need for the religious school to come together as an avenue for creating community. She reinvigorated the defunct Parent Association, pulling together a committee of new volunteers that represented the various demographics of the school. She listened, and what she found was that parents wanted an opportunity for families to get to know each other. She took action, creating several new initiatives, including Shabbat Across Shalom, Lox Box, Mom's Night Out, Dads and Donuts, and Family Bingo. She's a motivated, enthusiastic volunteer who works tirelessly towards her vision for the temple. Hillary has chaired the last 3 Temple Shalom galas and spearheaded their recent brick fundraiser, raising 3 times the original goal. Hillary, her husband Michael, and their daughter Jordan have been residents of Stamford, Connecticut since 2013. Hillary is incredibly thankful to Michael and Jordan for their love and continued support. For all of her outstanding work for Temple Shalom, we are pleased to award Hillary Rosenthal the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award for 2020.
Marlene Lerner, because you are so impressive, I will share your story with the community. Growing up in Greenwich Village, Marlene worked every day alongside her whole family at her father's grocery store, I Ader, on Bleecker Street. Working the keys of the register gave her the foundation and lessons of New York City grit that continues to resonate within the Anshe Shalom community. Marlene and Armand, her husband, are devoted to Stephen, Ilanit, Jacques, and Katie, and have worked hard to blend in those same values as Marlene learned on Bleecker Street. Marlene has been instrumental to the community at large. As a math and computer science teacher at the Pelham School System, Marlene was honored with the School Spirit Award. Her seemingly never-ending energy and long-term dedication enabled her to tackle new projects. Marlene is considered one of Anshe Shalom's key members and is among one of their most generous volunteers. Whether working at an event, whether helping with her son's Boy Scout troops mailing or shopping for the shul, Marlene never hesitated to get involved. For over 2 decades, Marlene worked as journal chair for the synagogue's annual testimonial dinner. We all know the paramount effort that is involved and the attention to detail that goes with a project of that magnitude. Marlene took it upon herself to learn a time-saving computer program, and the printer was so impressed with her work that he offered her a full-time job. Marlene is definitely the key to the success of the journal. Most recently, Marlene founded and leads the Golden Group for the synagogue's older community. Though she says she is very shy, Marlene has reached out and has created a most needed, vibrant, and social community. Marlene herself is golden and a key to the warm community of Anshe Shalom. For all the hard work that you have done, Marlene Lerner, we are proud to award you with the Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Award of 2020.
Hello, everybody. Forsheimer, the CEO of the Westchester Jewish Council. Favorites of the council year. allow me to add my admiration to friend Donald Floyd as a Jewish and one Jewish advocate of Westchester. And it's not just the young that are being highlighted tonight. I want to thank the hundreds of us in TV land, a record number of attendees who have zoomed in to honor the award recipients. It's a tribute to the enduring and growing value of community service that our good friend Julie Bernstein held so dear. In accordance with Jewish tradition, we actually have many honorees this evening. I don't just mean I can't be heard. Can someone wait me? I can't be heard. Next, you're going to take over.
Okay. Am I on? Am I on? Okay. All right. Obviously, we had some technical difficulties, but I don't think that marred any of the spirit that was here tonight. This was the first time the council has ever done a virtual Julian Y. Bernstein Distinguished Service Awards, and we consider it a monumental success. We had over 400 screens coming on via Zoom, which means we had, if there are 2 people per screen, we could have had close to 800 people on the screen with us tonight, in addition to the Facebook page and the USY page. So we are thrilled. We're happy we've been able to honor all of our awards this evening, all of our honorees this evening. And typically, our celebration is followed by a gala ice cream, a Ben & Jerry's truck ice cream event. We would encourage all of you to have ice cream tonight in honor of your favorite honoree. Send them something, a note. Also, you can go to the Westchester Jewish Council's website and look at all of the honorees and certainly contact them as well. I believe the next slide that's coming up is going to say thank you and probably give you the council's web address as well. There you go, www.wjcouncil.org. So find out all the other things that we're doing, and I think that's it. Tune back in with the council a year from now when we will have another wonderful group of honorees continuing this legacy. So thank you all very much for joining us this evening.